Patrick, thank you for joining us to talk about your NHL career and career at all. When I look at all your stats throughout the years, I can see you got drafted in 2002. Can you explain how is it when you get drafted? How long do you belong to a club, and how does that go?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, to start with, it was an amazing experience after my freshman year at school. We were actually getting up as a family, getting ready to go to church, and we got the phone call from Atlanta. So, it was a very exciting time. And the way it works for a college kid is once they draft you, they have your rights through your college career. You obviously have the opportunity, if both sides thinks that it's a good fit, you can leave early and sign, but if not, they have you through August after you graduate. So for me, I played my 4 years at school, and then unfortunately for me, we couldn't come to a deal with Atlanta. We ended up signing with Chicago in the A, which was Atlanta's farm team, and I went there and had a really good rookie year.
Yeah, you played for Chicago Wolves, and then you went to Albany River Rats. There was actually 6 years between you were drafted and to your first NHL game. How did you connect to Carolina, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I said, after my college career, we didn't come to an agreement with Atlanta, so I went and played with their farm team for the year, had a good year, and come free agency, Carolina called and wanted to sign me, and so we signed with Carolina and went to Albany and played in Albany. And I think it was 3 years pro before my first NHL game. But like I said, they had me 3 years in college and stuff, and it was always a driving force not being able to get a deal done with Atlanta and stuff like that. Like, I always felt like I could play at that level, and had a good rookie year, and Carolina came knocking, and so it was kind of a fresh start for me and an exciting time.
Did you start the year, the season 2008 and 2009? You played both for Albany and for Carolina. Did you start the year in the AHL and then get called to the NHL?
Yeah, I started the year in Albany. Got sent down, one of the last guys to get sent down out of training camp. Had a pretty good training camp, and then got sent down and worked hard and had a good start of the year. And they went through a rash of injuries and a losing streak, and they wanted to shake it up, and they brought me up.
There is this chance that they will call you from the NHL and say you're ready to play. But how was it actually to get that phone call and be asked to come and play for the NHL?
Yeah, it was extremely exciting. You're sitting there, and through the course of the time there in Albany, I got to see many guys get the phone call, and you always sit there and hope and wait that it's going to be your chance. So to get the call from the head coach in Albany and say, hey, pack your bags, you're going up, it was a really exciting time for me and my family, and one that you always remember.
So you continue playing for Carolina. You actually played for the USA at the World Cup too. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was amazing. To get to represent your country is always an amazing opportunity, and to do it at the World Championship stage is really exciting. And we were lucky enough. It was in Finland, in Helsinki, which is a beautiful city. Yeah, so it was exciting to go there and to wear the red, white, and blue and represent your country, and it's one of those highlights that's up there with playing in the NHL as far as my career goes.
That was actually my next question, if that was the highlight of your career there playing for the USA.
I don't know if it's the highlight of my career. It's obviously an extremely far up there on the list. And a great honor, but I think as a kid you grow up and you think of representing your country, but you always want to play in the NHL. So to make it to the NHL is probably the highlight of my career, followed closely by representing the USA.
In those years in the NHL, what's your best memory from that time?
There's a lot of memories. Your first game, your first goal, so there's always good memories. I look back on my career, and it's funny how you can sit and recount every goal in your head and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of memories through the process of it. There's a lot of memories in the process of getting there that are great memories. But it's it's something you look back on, and it's amazing how fast 7 years can fly by.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of great memories. Obviously, first game and first goal are right up there as two of my best memories.
Yeah, you said you played 7 years in the NHL. You met a lot of different players, and as fans, we all have our favorites. Now you've really been on the ice playing against them, but who's the best you ever played against and together with, if you can say so?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the best I ever played against was Sidney Crosby. He's he's a generational player. He's in my opinion the best player that's been in the NHL the last 10 years. Hands down, he's a complete player. Obviously Ovechkin can score goals. It's fun to watch Ovechkin play and to compete against Ovechkin, but I think as an all-around game, Crosby just is head and toes above everybody. And you're starting to see that with McDavid. McDavid's going to come up, and eventually the king always falls, right? So McDavid will eventually take over Crosby at some point down the road. I don't think it's happened yet. But yeah, Crosby's an amazing player. Ovechkin was good. You look up and down NHL rosters now, and every team's got guys that you're just like, wow, it's fun to play against. But I think Pittsburgh was always a challenge to play against because they had Crosby and Malkin down the middle, and early in my career they had Stahl down the middle. So those three lines like that were always a challenge to match up with, because if you focused on one, there was another one waiting to eat you up. So yeah, it was those players are always fun to play against. Your Getzlaffs. Every team's got a guy that's fun to play against, and unfortunately, I think I started a little too late in my career, but as my last year in my career, I started to go around and ask guys for some signed sticks for my son. So my son's got a little bit of a collection at home of signed sticks from guys. But yeah, it's just something I wish I'd have started earlier in my career. I played with a lot of good hockey players. You asking best player I played with.
Your teammates, for example.
Yeah, I played with a lot of different players, and I know a lot of guys that were good at things that maybe didn't get the credit they deserve. Being in Carolina, you had a little bit smaller media focus, but I mean, obviously Eric Stahl was a fantastic hockey player. His brother Jordan's a great hockey player.
Didn't Stahl win a Stanley Cup too, I guess?
Yep. He won it the year before I signed there. Yeah, they're great players. Guys like Ray Whitney, who I played with and went on and had an amazing career. I think he played 1,400 games in the NHL. Just a really good hockey player. Corey Stillman was good. Eric Cole were good hockey players that kind of fly under the radar in a smaller market like Carolina. But yeah, I was fortunate to play against and play with a lot of really good hockey players.
Has there been teams and players which you really hated to play against?
Yeah, I mean there's always guys that you hate to play against. Whether it's because they compete hard with you on stuff, or there's guys that run their mouths a bit more than other guys. But yeah, you get to, especially the way the divisions were aligned when I first came into the NHL. You played teams in your division so often that you would really develop a rivalry there. And now that the schedule's changed a little bit more, where the East plays the West a little more, you don't maybe have those rivalries quite as much. But yeah, you always develop over the course of a season a guy that you maybe have an ongoing battle with, or ongoing trash talk with, and stuff like that. It's hard to recount them individually, but yeah, on a game-to-game basis, there's usually someone that you're chirping with, or in a pushing match with, or something on a regular basis.
Was there any specific team you're going to say, I don't like to play against them?
You know what? I don't really have a specific team. Philadelphia is tough to play against because they've played in, it goes back to the Broad Street Bullies, that they've always played that kind of muck and grind in your face tough hockey. So they were always a team that you hated to play against, and they're in that division now and stuff. But yeah, you develop a rivalry, and 82 games is a lot of games to play in against teams. I think you play some teams 6-8 times. Yeah, you get frustrated, and especially in the American Hockey League, you play 82 games. You stick to your division for the most part. East doesn't play West, and you usually play a team close by for exhibition games too. So there would be times in the American Hockey League you'd play teams 12, 14 times a year, and by the third or fourth meeting you're ready to rip some guys' heads off. But Yeah, it's a lot of games and frustrations run high and stuff. So
now you said you're ready to rip somebody's head off. When I look at the penalty minutes throughout your career, you really didn't have many penalty minutes. You told me earlier that you dropped the gloves only once in the NHL. Was it something you had to do, or was you forced into it?
Yeah, as far as the penalty minutes go, I fought a little bit more in my younger years, my early years in the A. I would have a couple fights a year and stuff, but I always prided myself on playing the game hard but clean, to be tough against, but to play it the right way, The way I look at it is everyone's got a family to go home to after the game, so you can play hard and you can play physical, but you can play the right way. And naturally, as your career goes on, there's no reason to be taking punches in the head when you don't have to be.
Of course not.
So, but yeah, my NHL fight was actually the puck was in the air and I swung at it and I missed and I hit Tobias Enstrom in the head by accident. And naturally, when something like that happens, you're going to have to answer the bell, and I ended up having to fight, and it was a good fight, and it happened, and I got to put down my fight for my NHL career, which we were talking earlier, you kind of almost have to have one, so yeah, I wouldn't say I'm glad it happened, but it happened.
You had one, yeah.
And now looking back on it, you can laugh and giggle and said I had an NHL fight.
Of course, yeah, good. You ended your NHL career after the season 14-15. Then you went to Sweden, to Modo. Just looking at the stats, it looks like you were struggling a little bit in Sweden. How was the year there?
Yeah, it was tough. It was one of those years. It was kind of like this year, where I signed late in the year and went in there, and at that point they were pretty firmly in relegation, and we came in. And it was just to try to climb our way and establish ourselves as a team so we could win relegation. Unfortunately for myself as a player, it was a tougher situation. We had really good hockey players, but we didn't fit as a team. We had a lot of odd misplaced pieces that were good hockey players, but it just didn't gel as a group. And for me, unfortunately, it was a tough year. I didn't really play power play and stuff like that, and that's the Swedish Hockey League's a defensive hockey league where points on the power play and stuff like that are huge, and kind of wasn't given that opportunity. But it was a tough year for us, and it was unfortunate that a program with that much history and that much roots in Swedish hockey, it got relegated. Really tough situation, but I check on them now and then, and it seems like they've gone back to their grassroots of developing players, which people don't really realize that Ovik is a Swedish hockey factory. You can look up and down the NHL, and there's quite a few guys from there in the NHL.
There's a lot of players.
Yeah, so I'm glad they got back to their roots, and I root for them, and I hope they get back up there.
So last year you was back in the AHL. 58 games, 26 points, quite impressive, and then you ended up here in SønderjyskE in Denmark. How did you actually end up here? Because if you look at your career so far, it's like we said, whoa, what happened here? We got an NHL player in SønderjyskE. How did that come through?
Well, yeah, I went back to the A last year. Had a pretty slow start to the year, as our team did. In January, we were sitting in last place in the league, and then after Christmas break kind of came around in the new year, our team took off. I actually, of those, I think I had 26 points. I think 23 of them came after Christmas.
Yeah.
I think I had like 23 points in 30 games there down the stretch, which was good. And the team came together and we squeaked into the playoffs, which is quite the feat from being last in the league at New Year's to making the playoffs was good for us. And then, I thought we were going to end up going back there and, talking to the coaching staff, and our coach actually ended up taking an assistant coaching job in Chicago. And the guy that came in wanted to develop his younger guys a little bit, which I understand. It's a development league and stuff like that. So we were kind of sitting, waiting through the process of free agency and stuff like that. And we didn't want to jump to Europe right away. We wanted to kind of see if anything opened up in North America, and we waited through that, and then started getting calls from teams in the Denmark and the Swiss league and stuff like that. But a lot of those teams wanted me to go alone without my family. my kids are at an age, and I'm at an age where 4 or 5 months without my family is
not good.
Not a real entertaining offer to me. So unfortunately we couldn't come to an agreement with schooling with kids or a place for the family and stuff, and sitting there, and Dan and Kim called my agent, and we kind of did some research to it, and talking to those two guys, it felt like a really good fit for my family, and so it was something that came together. It sounded really good for the family, like an area that's kind of like where we live back home, smaller town, and it was intriguing to us, and it took off, and we're really happy that we're here, because we love the town. The town's been amazing to us. It's a great place to play, great facilities, great staff, great players. So yeah, we're excited about it, and unfortunately we went through an injury spell there in a rough patch, but it seems like things are going to take off for us, and the group that's in there, I think we can do pretty cool things.
Could you see yourself continuing in the Danish league, or do you see yourself in a league, for example, in Dell or a Swiss league next year?
Yeah, I guess that all kinds of depends on what happens, through this year, and how it goes on a personal basis for me, whether, a situation like that opens up that we feel is a fit for our family. I've talked to a lot of guys that have played in that league and know quite a bit about cities and stuff like that'll be fits for the family. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm kind of at the point in my career where it's starting to wind down and stuff, and I don't know if there's really an offer in Europe that's going to make a difference financially, that's going to set me and my family apart financially. So I think at this point in the career, we're just looking for situations that are a good fit team-wise and a good fit family-wise, that we're going to enjoy our time over there and have fun, and it makes the hockey season more fun.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can say we're happy to have you here, and we can always cross your fingers that you choose to stay not here in Denmark. Now I wish you a happy New Year, and good luck in the rest of the season.
Perfect, thank you. Happy New Year.
Programmet blev præsenteret af Odset.